Check 1 2, check 1 2. All right. You know, before I go live, I got to make sure everything sounds right here. So I'm going to go to Facebook and I'm going to listen. I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm going to listen really quick. You know, before I go live, I got to make sure everything sounds right here. So I'm going to go to Facebook and I'm going to listen. It sounds like it's good, folks. Sometimes I do a whole live and, well, the sound stinks. And it's because something isn't hooked up correct. I am getting hair back, folks. That's why I don't have that little do-rag thing on tonight. It's coming back after like 6.5 weeks after chemo. The little fuzz is starting to come back on the top of the head. Hallelujah. Pull up here. Get myself straight here. This is again one of those nights where, look, I pay for this online service. I might as well use it, right? There are so many people that do so many great shows, and they put it together like all day long. And along comes Dean, and he's like, it's just hit the button, go live. You got this stuff, do it. At the end of the month, we're gonna stop this subscription because I think I'm wasting money here. But hope everybody is having a great Friday here in the Valley of the Sun or wherever you might be listening to me. I've posted some newer TikToks that I'll show you later on in the show where I go out with my new Arizona Timeless Tourist little coin, little chip. And I put it, I think I'm going to use it to get people out and about, moving around, but going to these historical sites. So I go to a historical site around Mesa or today out in Florence. I show you where I leave the chip, and the first one to get out there gets it. And we had somebody send in a picture lately of somebody who went out and found one of the chips at the location. It's not like it's tough to find. I show you exactly where it's at. But yeah, I think I got one of these in my pocket. I try to keep, right here. So these are the coins that I'm leaving leaving around town, leaving at all the historical spots in places like Queen Creek and Florence, Arizona so far. And then on the back of it is the QR code, folks, to the social media platform that brings me the most amount of views, where we got over 175,200 followers. And you can go watch the 900 plus videos of the, I would say, roughly 50 million total views that we've got on it. So we're leaving them around. Check out my TikTok. We've launched 2 of them. I put more of them on my Facebook page at the Arizona Timeless Tourist. And I'll show you what it kind of looks like here really quick. Let's bring this up here. Right there. And let's go to the home page here. Right there. So my last 2 videos where you see me with sunglasses right here, this is the last one. This is today in Florence. Let's turn that up. I'm going to start leaving my Arizona chip. So if you want one of these, you'll have to come to this location. Let me show you where I am. And I'm going to leave 2 of my coins at this location. The other one really quick is a special one. It's this one here. It's a red one with the Arizona Timeless Tours written on it. I only have about 100 of these. So come out to this location and grab it. Let me show you where we're at. right, so let me show you where we're at. It says, welcome to Poston Butte, right here. You would go right under the railroad tracks right here. Anyhow, if you go to my last two TikTok videos, especially today, I show you the one that's out in Florence. I put a red one, which is a special chip because I've got like, 600 or 700 of these made like 5 months ago. And then the red ones were just for like if you met me in person or it was a free trip or something like that, I would give out. Uh, the red ones only got less than 100 of them. So we put one of those out at Post and Butte today. So if you go to my most recent TikTok, if the people haven't gone out there yet, there are 2 coins and very easy to find. And you don't have to like climb up Post and Butte and see where Charles DeBrill Poston is buried up in that pyramid up there. It's right before you even get to the gate to take that path over to the Butte. I left 2 coins there today because yes, I was in Florence, Arizona today, folks. Let me run over here to the chat really quick. Nobody's in the chat. We showed that we got a few people watching, but nobody's in the chat. So okay. I went to Florence today because I announced on most of my social media platforms that I would be out there for a few hours on Friday morning from 9 o'clock. And went out there to see if we can get any bookings because we didn't have any advance bookings for today. So went out there and lo and behold, got no bookings and saw nobody in Florence, Arizona this morning. Was out there a few hours, hung around the First Pinal County Courthouse, like I said I would, in the Jeep that you can't miss. And I said, after a while, I walked around and did a little bit more research for myself. I've done probably 2.5 years of research on that great town of Florence, but went around, checked out some of the shops that were opened. And there was a new area opened, a new cafe that's extraordinary. They did a great job where the old Tunnel Saloon used to be. So if you driving down Main Street and you know where the Tunnel Saloon used to be, it caught fire and they put another building in that area. They opened a brand new cafe. I went inside it. Nobody was there, but the cafe was really, really nice. So I do recommend that. I didn't get to take a picture of it. I wish I would have because I didn't know if I was going to go live or not tonight. And Florence is doing a good job, folks. It's got stores. It's nothing like Tombstone. Tombstone has had time to get those shops up that really attract the tourists. That's not what you're going to find in Florence. You're going to find a lot of cafes, a really nice coffee shop. You're going to find a thrift store, a candy shop. There's a lot of realty. I don't know why, but there's a lot of realtor shops on Main Street and stuff like that. But it's coming around. It's looking like they're at least trying to bring in people and then bring in the local town to Main Street there next to the True Value Hardware store, which is like no other True Value Hardware store in the state of Arizona. You need to go check that one out on Main Street. They have a lot of Murphy's Romance stuff up there when they filmed that in 1984, 85. When they filmed Murphy's Romance there, they have the movie going in the back on the constant. They have the movie posters in there. They have some memorabilia in there. It's really a cool spot there on Main Street in Florence. So go and check it out. But it was a quiet morning, this Veterans Day in Florence, Arizona, and since we didn't have anybody come out and say, I wanted a tour because was offering $50 tours today. I normally charge $65 per person with a minimum of 2 people for the last year and a half. And today I was going to be like minimum 1 person, no more than 10, 11 people, because that's hard for them to hear me as we walk down the streets there for $50. And I got no takers. I get takers for 65, but I got no takers for today at 50. So here's the plug. I am starting the tours. I always say we, but I am starting the tours again. We started them on the 1st of November, and we do them 7 days a week. So if you get a hold of me with that email that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, dnb7010@gmail.com. I have another one out there too, but we'll leave it at that one for now. Usually I can do 2 tours a day in the morning. They're 90-minute walking tours unless you add on to see the ruins that are around there. And then we pump up the time that it takes to see it and pump up the amount of money that it takes to do that tour. It would be well over closer to 2.5 hours if you put in the ruin section to that tour. So anyhow, we have them going 7 days a week. It's a first come, first serve basis. You email me, a minimum of 2 people. It's cost $65 per person, 90-minute historic walking tour. Folks, you're going to love it. I'm going to tell you, you're going to love it. I've done a few of them last year. I think last year, and maybe only one so far this year. And I always have, halfway through the tour, I'm like, look, because sometimes you can't gauge people. A couple was following me. They didn't look too engaged after about 35 minutes. And I would ask them, is this something that was worth the money? What do you gauge it from 1 to 10? And only one time that I got that they gauged it at a 7.5. The wife gauged it at a 9. Normally, halfway through, everybody's like, this is a 10. This is way more than we expected. And we're only halfway through. So you're going to really love it. It's better than any Tombstone tour you're going to take. Why? Because it's got just as many historical places in Florence than Tombstone has. And Tombstone burned down numerous times. Had the big fire of 1882, and they were lucky that the Birdcage Theater didn't go at that time. Because I think the Birdcage Theater is the only really historical thing left on Allen Street that you can go in that was there roughly about 2 months at the same time that Wyatt Earp and all of his brothers and the Clanton and the McClarys and all the people that we know that made Tombstone so huge. The only building still standing is, I believe, the Birdcage Theater, and it opened after Christmas Day, December 26th of 1882. So if you think of when Wyatt Earp, by the 1st of April of 1882, Wyatt Earp and the Earps are all out of Tombstone. They're all gone. The tensions are gone. Most of the cowboys are out by April, May of 1882. And that's opening them just up after the 26th, 27th of December of 1882. So there's not a lot of original stuff from the time that we all want to go back and think of Tombstone and the 2 major motion pictures that were done on Tombstone. So Florence, and what I decided to do, and I printed out. I'm going to show you a couple of things today, a couple of historical signs that are out there, and I'm going to go back for the 4th time to Tombstone in the next couple of days, maybe in about a week. Don't want to, but I'm going to for really for this purpose and this purpose only, and that is to go down there and to start taking pictures of all the historical markers for the buildings. Okay. They have a little bit of different historical markers that are down around the OK Corral and stuff like that. And take the pictures and then show you the difference between Tombstone and Florence, history-wise. What still remains? The historical marker might be there, but is that the original OK Corral? The historical marker might be there, but is that none of those buildings exist except for the Birdcage Theater? And please tell me if I'm wrong on Allen Street. That's the only original building from December of 1882. Everything else is rebuilt, or it's a tourist destination, a tourist saloon, or a tourist store, or stuff like that, which is nothing wrong with that. But so I brought up, I went there and I took, for the first time, I just went through the town and started taking snapshots of all of the historical markers in Florence. I'm going to do the same in Tombstone. And we're going to have a side-by-side comparison in a show. But let me bring up, and I know it's going to be hard for you to see, and I think it's going to be hard for me to see, so I'm going to bring it up on my phone here. Get off of there. Bring up the pictures, because I need to crop them so that you, the viewer, can actually see what I'm looking at here. So we'll go through, let me see here. I went a little bit backwards here. Yeah. All right. Dog just popped in here. Let me go to the cat. Let me go to anybody want to jump in the chat? Just go ahead and jump in. Let's go. Let me see what we can find here. That's not what we want. That's what we want right there. Okay. Let me just I will read the historical marker because it's probably going to be hard for you to read it on that screen, depending if you're looking at it on a computer screen. Most of you probably are looking at it on a telephone, your iPhone or your Android. It says the Levi Ruggles, founder of Florence, Arizona, Civil War veteran Levi Ruggles came to Arizona Territory in 1866 as a U.S. Indian agent. Recognizing the agricultural potential of this valley, he found an early, formidable crossing on the Gila River and surveyed a town here. He called the village Florence, a favorite Ruggles family name, and early in 1869 built his first family home on this site. In August of that same year, with the aid of Governor R.C. McCormick, he secured a post office. Ruggles held numerous public offices, including that of territorial legislator. Now, what is cool about this? You're on the other side of this historical marker is the first Ruggles house, and it's only a foundation. You're saying, well, it's only a foundation, Dean. How? I mean, we're going to compare Tombstone with. Just listen. This is the foundation of Levi Ruggles' first family home that was built in 1869. It's a actual state park area, and they roped it off with the, like a little chain thing around it. It's historical because this is the gentleman who founded it in 1866, and Tombstone wasn't founded until 1879 by a prospector, all right, named Ed Shefflin. Ed Shefflin. Prior to it becoming known as Tombstone, Tombstone was known as Gooseneck. Would Tombstone be the same today if it was called Gooseneck? I don't think so, but we'll move on from that. Who wouldn't go to Tombstone today, see a historical marker like this, all right, on Wyatt Earp, and when he got there with his brothers, and the original Wyatt Earp foundation of his home, the original home that they had in Tombstone, if that foundation was there and it was kind of roped off, tens of thousands of people would flood in to Tombstone just to see the foundation of the house of Wyatt Earp. Guaranteed. Tombstone would love to have the foundation of the first house that Wyatt Earp lived in right there. They have some kind of a portrait place or something. It's not the house of Wyatt Earp that shows the big statue of Wyatt Earp out front. That's not it. It's in the location of where the Earps and their brothers settled down, but it's not, none of the original houses still stand. So if you go to Florence, you have this foundation of this house that's protected by the state, that's a state park that was placed there and put up, all right, in 1869, the founder of Florence. So I think that's really cool. And I compare it to if Wyatt Earps, or let's say Ed Shefflin, who's the founder of Tombstone, and again in 1879, the great prospector, they became very wealthy out there in his mining operation. If his original home was in around the Tombstone area, and the foundation of it still existed today from 1879, again, tens of thousands of people would flock to it. But again, if it was Wyatt Earp's, and that's not 1879. That's like 1880. But it doesn't exist. Nothing exists of the original Wyatt Earp or his brothers' homes. But we would love a foundation, wouldn't we? We would love a foundation of one of their homes still be standing there today, but it's not. So that's why this historical site in Florence, from its founder, Levi Ruggles, again, founding the area way before Tombstone would be found in 1866 as an Indian agent, and he was an officer in the Civil War. All right, so that's one of the historical markers. Let me fly over here to the next one here and see if this is. And again, we got the foundation of a house from 1869. All right, so let's click over to a different. Don't think that that's the one I want next. That's the one I want next. The George A. Brown House. This is right across the street from the Levi Ruggles Foundation of 1869. What does this one say here? It says, this was originally a flat-roofed Sonoran adobe built in 18 75. It still stands today, folks. I've been inside of this house. The lady that lives in this house, it's been added onto over the years, but the original part is the living room of the home, and I've been inside of it. It was built in 1875 and still stands today in beautiful Florence, Arizona. For George A. Brown. George A. Brown, Adamsville saloon keeper. The house served briefly as the Wells Fargo office during the rash of stagecoach robberies. By God, Brown's known for his often repeated phrase. He always said "by God" for some reason. He was a colorful storyteller, a dapper dresser, and a Wells Fargo agent for a record 27 years, from 1877 to 1904. He had interest in mining, newspapers, and ice making business. The pitched roof was added in 1888. And the carriage house and stable and the breezeway at the back were enclosed later with bedrooms. Okay, folks. So this house still stands, and it's an original in its original state, and then it's added on state. And when I say added on state, it was built in 1875. The add-ons come in the early 1890s. It's not like they added on in the 20th century. We're still in the 19th century, the late 19th century. So he's a Wells Fargo agent, and right down the road, 4.5 miles, is Adamsville. Talking about a town too tough to die. That was way tougher than Tombstone would ever think of being, was Adamsville, the ghost town of Adamsville now. And he was a saloon keeper in Adamsville. And Adamsville was established in the same year as Florence was, in 1866. So he's a saloon keeper. He's a Wells Fargo agent. And he's a Wells Fargo agent for 27 years, from 1877 to 1904. And the Wells Fargo, had a rash of stagecoach robberies and stuff like that. And it's a pretty amazing home if you go and you check it out. So let's go on to the next one really quick. And if you're just joining in, we're just going over, I'm going to just show you a few things to look at right now with historical markers that are in Florence, because a lot of people don't understand the history of Florence, or why it's so historical, or why I think it's the best town, most historic town in the state of Arizona. And I'm going to go to Tombstone, and we're going to have a night for about 2 hours live, and you can chat back and forth, where I'm going to go and show you the historical markers that are in Tombstone. See if the original houses are still standing where the historical markers are, or if they're refurbished, or if they're completely rebuilt, which everything on Allen Street except for the Birdcage Theater is going to be rebuilt. So these houses are all standing. All right. So let's go to the George A. Brown. No, we just did that one. Let's go to the Walker house here. Let me find that one here. I think we just did that one. Did we not just do that one? Let me go here. Went down. Come on, Dean. Get it right. All right. Let's see if I can't find this one here. Sorry, folks. Let's move here. All right. For some reason, I don't know. I skipped one somewhere in the. There's right next to that site, and we'll just take it down, and I'll just read it to you. I don't know why I don't have the. Maybe this is it. No, that's not it either. Not doing good. It's the Granville Wheat Outbuilding. So right next to the building I just showed you, or just talked about, that historical marker, there's another historical marker that sits right next to it. And obviously, for some reason, I didn't download the picture for you to see. So I'll just read it. It's called the Granville Wheat Outbuilding. I've seen the inside of that. The lady that owns the Brown building, she showed us the original inside of this Granville Wheat Outbuilding. It's just a small building, but the inside is so awesome because it remains the same. The smaller adobe outbuilding was constructed by Granville Wheat and appears on the 1869, think about this, the 1869 Army map of Florence. The first earthen roof was replaced with a rear mono-pitched waterproof metal roof. The original door and wood frame remain. So the original door and wood frame remain to this building. It's just the roof was later on changed. It says here, Wheat was a Butterfield stage driver and came to Florence in 1868. Remember, they just started laying out Florence in 1866. This guy gets here in 1868. Wheat is listed as a farmer on the 1870 census, was the first elected sheriff of Pima County, and an early Pinal County supervisor. The building may have been an ice house when George H. Brown owned it later. So George A. Brown, the one we talked about earlier that was the saloon keeper just before, he made it into an ice house. That's what it's known as today. But again, that building is shown, it appears on the 1869 Army map of Florence, Arizona. Still stands today, original structure, original inside. The only thing that's changed is the roof. And when the roof was added, we're talking about the late 1880s. We're still in the 19th century, folks. We haven't even come into the 20th century. All right, we talked about three places. One, the foundation still exists from 1869, the founder, Levi Ruggles. Then we talked about George Brown, who was a saloon keeper in Adamsville, 4.5 miles down the road, and was a Wells Fargo agent for 27 years. All right, his house that he lived in was built in 1877 and still stands. This house was we're not sure exactly when it was built, but it was on the Army map in 1869. So obviously it was built on or before 1869. You can't find that. You won't find that in Tombstone again because Tombstone's not built till 1879. But most of, again, on Allen Street, you're only going to find the Birdcage Theater that's still up from December of 1882. And that is not the time frame that people want to think about Tombstone, because in a couple of months, everybody's going to be gone. All the Earps are going to be pulled out by April of 1882. It's opening after Christmas Day of 1882. So if you think about it, it's open January, February, March, Earps are gone. I mean, on the 20th of March is when Wyatt Earp takes out Frank Stillwell at the Tucson train station. They come back. Johnny Behan wants to arrest him. He says not today, according to the movie, but he didn't allow Behan to arrest him. And guess what? They go on the Vendetta ride. They don't come back. So the official time in most magazines and stuff is 1 April of 1882. So 3 or 4 months, the other place is open. How many times did Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday and all these people we know actually go into the Birdcage Theater? Probably not too many. Probably once or twice, if I was to guess. So, again, the object of tonight, and this is just a random live, but I'm going to go back to Tombstone for the last time. I do not want to head back down there. This will be my 4th time in like 2 years. I'll have somebody help me out. I want to get all of the historical markers, and I want to take the pictures, and I want to compare them to Florence. Florence, over 25 of these buildings are original and still standing from the mid 1860s to the late 1890s. What is left in Tombstone that you're actually going there to see? There are a lot of historical markers. This is where Morgan Earp was taken out. Well, it could have been along that street area, but none of the buildings exist anymore because Allen Street, no. Now, Fremont Street, you do have some buildings that are original, like Shefflin Hall. It was built in 1881. One of the churches along that way, which is not a tourist attraction, was built in 1880. So those were there during the time of the shootout at the OK Corral. Everything that we know about Tombstone, Shefflin Hall, and one of the churches was there. That's about it. And we're going to compare it. And I'm going to show you why Florence is so awesome and why I give tours 7 days a week in Florence that you can sign up for with that email that's scrolling across. Just tell me how many people and what day you want to go. It's first come, first serve. I can only do 2 tours a day. I'd love to do them in the morning. I think you'll enjoy them in the morning, even though it's a little cold these days in the morning. But let me run over to the chat here. Dale, your videos are amazing. Great information of the history of Arizona. I appreciate that, Dale. Thank you very much. So let's go back to the graphics. And let's go through these and see if I can't. I'm going to give you just a couple more of these because we're going to have a long chat about this in a couple of weeks. I'll put a really good show together. And let's see here. Okay, this is my first or second. Is tied for favorite house. And if you're not familiar with the Florence, you're not going to understand how this guy was there. But John P. Clum house. Hopefully, I don't even have to tell you who John P. Clum is, but I can almost guarantee, even if you're a Tombstone fan, I'm going to have to tell you who he is. So let's read it. This house, and remember when these houses were built and they're still standing and they're occupied. And somebody just repurchased this house about a year ago and they're fixing all the outside up. It was built in 1878 for John P. Clum, Indian agent, editor of the Florence's first newspaper, the Arizona Citizen, and founder of the Tombstone Epitaph. All right. It goes into, it's a typical transitional architecture. The home is a Sonoran adobe with Anglo-influenced roof. This gentleman was an electrical engineer and postmaster, owned the home in 1884 when he replaced the wood shingles with a metal roof. So he replaced the wood shingles with the metal roof in 1884. So quite some time ago. We're still in the 19th century. In 1974, former Governor Ernest McFarland renovated the house. Many of its original interior features. Let me go back to that. Ernest McFarland renovated the house. Many of its original interior features, including an elegant marble fireplace, remain intact. There are a lot of features in this house from 1878, the time that John P. Clum lived in this home, that are original to the house, folks. It is unbelievable, the preservation of this home. This is the first elected mayor of Tombstone, Arizona. Yes, he comes into this place in 1877, but starts building the house in 1877. The marker says 1878. I would say everything that I've read, that house was done by the end of 1877. There's really good reasons why I say that, but I won't get into that right now. But he started the newspaper business. He came to Florence after being an Indian agent at the San Carlos Reservation from 1874 to 1877. All right. So he's an Indian agent there. Read about his time as an Indian agent and how old he was, folks. He came out west to be a weatherman, and he was one in New Mexico for some time. Then that opening happens, and he takes it. He has no idea what he's getting into. From 1874 to 1877, his time at the San Carlos Reservation is it shows exactly how one of those reservations should be run. Okay, let the Native Americans govern themselves. Let them form an Apache police force. Let them have trials, okay, with a group before a group of their peers, sitting like we do today in the jury box. And let John P. Clum be the overriding person to oversee everything, to make sure everything is going right, but make sure all the laws are being upheld of the reservation, but make sure that they are the ones that are passing down the judgment, that they are passing the sentences to these people that are being brought forth. He does an unbelievable job there from 1874 to 1877. It's a legendary. Go look up John Clum at the San Carlos Reservation. Great books written on this topic. He captures Geronimo with 400 Apache police. That's 400 miles away. Okay, let me take this back. 100 of his Apache police force march 400 miles to have this meeting with Geronimo. Geronimo's like, they split up. He doesn't know how many there are. Geronimo comes out. He ain't worried about nothing. He's got his warriors. And John Clum stands before him. And what happens is he has to surrender to John Clum. He has to surrender to this bald-headed guy. All right. And he hands over his weapon without firing a shot. And they bring Geronimo back in 1877. So Geronimo was captured, folks. People, this gets lost to history because people say, well, Geronimo only surrendered on his own free will. He didn't surrender on his own free will that day. He didn't come there expecting to surrender. All right. He didn't come there expecting that if somebody tried to make him surrender, especially this white guy, this bald-headed dude like this, was going to make him surrender, this unbelievable warrior, there would have been a battle. There wasn't a battle. And John Clum took his rifle from his hand and marched him 400 miles back in shackles and with his warriors back to the San Carlos Reservation. Look it up. It's an unbelievable story. But his home, folks, is still standing. So he leaves in 1877 at some disagreement. He's always had rough disagreements with the government on how that place should be run, and that there should be no army troops anywhere near that reservation because it causes problems with the Apaches. And it always did, and it always will cause problems with the Apaches, having the U.S. military, the Army, anywhere near an Apache reservation. It just didn't work. So he gets let go in 1877. They end up letting Geronimo out, which would cause another 10 years of havoc. It was an absolute mistake what they did. But when John Clum leaves that place, he ends up in Florence. He comes to Florence and he wants to be a lawyer. He studied to be a lawyer. For him being a young man still, that's how he can make money. When he gets there and he gets into this lawyer's office, he's always looking out the window and he misses. Man, his life could have been taken numerous times on the Apache reservation from 1874 to 77. I mean, he misses the time he stood face to face with Geronimo. He's an adventurer. And he then decides he's going to run a newspaper. And he starts running a newspaper called the Arizona Citizen. And they can't find a house to put all of this machinery that it's going to take. He purchased the Tucson Citizen at the time, and he brings it to Florence. It really doesn't make it. It only makes it for like a year. And then he takes that paper back to Florence. He only lives in Florence for about just a little over a year. Goes back to he goes to Tucson, runs the paper there successfully. Then he leaves there when this new town sprouts out called Tombstone, and he goes there and he pitches a tent on a piece of property, and he starts another newspaper, and he calls it the Tombstone Epitaph. And so many people told him that's the stupidest name. Don't name it that. And that paper's still in circulation today as one of the oldest newspapers in the state of Arizona. John P. Clum House, folks. I can go on and on and on why Florence has way more history, just as big of a gunfight than Tombstone has. And I just showed you 4 historical markers that are standing in front of houses from the 1860s, all right, from the 1860s to the later 1870s. 4 historical markers, all right, 3 buildings that still stand, 1 foundation from 1869 still stands. So it's not just that it has the history that we can read the books like we can about Tombstone, and not just watch movies that are just wildly over exaggerated. But anyhow, we can read books, we can read old newspapers, and we can tell how the town was. We can actually walk amongst the homes in Florence and still see them standing today, with a majority of them people live in them. People live in these historic homes. I would say they live in over 95% of those homes in Florence. There's a very few that are vacant or need somebody to come in and revamp it. But you don't see that in Tombstone. You're just going there because you watched movies and you heard the inflated story of people like Doc Holliday. It ain't Doc Holliday's fault that he's credited with taking out all these people. And he didn't do it. There's great books and documentation that people have put years in and following Doc Holliday from Las Vegas, New Mexico, and up in Colorado, and all these other places prior to in Texas, prior to getting to Tombstone, Arizona. And it is absolutely amazing when you actually read the truth on Doc Holliday. It's like, oh, but again, it's not his fault. It's history's fault that came along and made him out to be the person that we know him to be today, the person that people like Val Kilmer made famous in the movie Tombstone. But his life wasn't near like that. So anyhow, we will do I will do another show, and I will promote that show because I'm not driving all the way to Tombstone for nothing. I will promote that show. You will know when it's coming out, folks. I will take, again, all the historical markers on Fremont Street and on Allen Street, get them all taken care of, try to get some local help so I don't miss anything. I've got all the historical markers from Florence, and you're going to see that it's better if you live in the valley to go to Florence, which will only take you, depending on where you live in the valley, 45 minutes to an hour to get to Florence, instead of over between 2.5 to 3 hours to get to Tombstone, to where you're just going there because it's like the Disneyland of the Wild West. You know, it's very, you're not seeing authentication. You're not seeing the original OK Corral. You're not seeing the original Oriental bar. You're not seeing the original all the bars that we know of to them. They're slipping from my mind, but they're all there. But none of them are original. You're not seeing any of the original hotels along Allen Street. But you are in Florence. You are in Florence, and I just showed you a huge connection to Tombstone in Florence. John P. Clum had his start there in that town with the newspaper. If he didn't start the newspaper there, he would have never started the Tombstone Epitaph. He would have never been the first elected mayor of Tombstone. He was a friend of the Earps. He was on the Vendetta March with the Clanton and the McClarys after the shootout at the OK Corral in October of 1881. He left to go east, and halfway to Benson, his stagecoach was ambushed and shot through, and he jumped off, and he walked all the way back to Benson. And then news reports got back, because they don't have phones. News reports got back that he made it out alive, but he was ambushed because they wanted to take him out. They saw him as being part of the Earp faction on the Holiday side of things, and they didn't like him. But again, he's the first elected mayor of Tombstone, and his story is unbelievable because once he gets there, his wife passes away, and he has a newborn, and he has a child that's just a couple of years old. And what's he going to do? He's in Tombstone. It's I believe his wife. Trying to think here. In 1881, right around Christmas, she passes away after childbirth. She's buried in the cemetery up there, the one that you got to pay to go see everybody up there. Mrs. John Clum is buried in that cemetery right along the fence line there. A lot of people miss that area there, but she was John Clum's first wife. His story again is amazing. And I took today 16 historical, walked around waiting for people if they wanted tours, 16 historical signs in front of historical houses, and only one place was missing the house. And that is the 1869 Levi Ruggles, where only the foundation exists. And I tell you again, if the foundation exists of anybody's house, of Doc Holliday's hotel that he stayed in, of Wyatt Earp or Morgan Earp or Virgil Earp or any of the Earps, if they existed today, you would be out there by the hundreds of thousands taking pictures of the foundation of the house that Wyatt Earp lived in, or that Morgan Earp lived in, or that Virgil Earp lived in. You'd be doing it. That's the significance of the Levi Ruggles house and the foundation that still exists. But that's the only one that there's a foundation. There's not an empty lot in Florence with a historical marker on it saying, hey, this in 1869, this was the home of so-and-so, or it used to be the home of so-and-so. Now it's just an empty lot. It doesn't work like that there. It does work like that down around Tombstone. So anyhow, let me go over to the chat because I'm always messing around here and I missed the chat. Cheers, Rod. The Beer Ventures, my friend. How are you doing? Good to see you. Haven't checked out your beer reviews lately. Unfortunately, I will make sure that I get out there and check that out. It's good to see you. It truly is good to see you. And then there's the other great comment that we've had. If you just joined us, say hello. This is always just popping on. I thought, I was out in Florence again today for I don't know how many times in the last 2.5 years I've been out there for tours. And I said, you know what, this is a good idea. People always wonder why I picked this place over Tombstone. And let me just show you why. And with over 25 authentic houses still standing and refurbished out there. I mean, there's one that's credited with being there before Levi Ruggles lays out that town in 1866. The way the house is set up and how it's facing, the building was there before Levi Ruggles came and set that town up in 1866. So it's pre 1866, and it's still standing there. It's abandoned. It needs a lot of work. The historical marker is on it. Hopefully somebody comes and revamps that area. It's off of the main street, but that's a cool thing. So pre-1866 home, pre-Levi Ruggles, pre-Florence, Arizona, but the house still stands there today and was used for numerous things up until it became, what it is today in somewhere in the 1980s. Your Buckeyes in the hunt again this year. Yes, they are. OH, baby. For anybody that watches me all the time, I really don't tell you that I'm from the great state of Ohio. Lived there 20 years before I joined the military. And yeah, my Buckeyes are still there. Every day, every game, though, is a struggle for those guys. No matter if they got 5-star recruits, every time they play Penn State and Iowa, we have an issue. So I think we play Illinois tomorrow, I think it is. So hopefully it goes well, because they can't be like Alabama. Any Alabama fans on, they can have like 5 losses and they'll still figure out a way to put them in the top 4. But go Buckeyes. Love the whole history around Tombstone, along with the Earps and Holiday, as well as some of the other Western tales. Yeah. And you got it right there at the end there. Tales. I've studied these places now for 5.5 years, traveled over 50,000 miles just in the state of Arizona. And the books that I have behind me are just stacked upon stacked. And what you find out is the story, especially with people like Doc Holliday. If you tell the story that the movies tell and what people believe is true, you're very popular. You get a lot of clicks, and you get a lot of people on your live and everything. But if you tell the real story, that starts hurting people. They start taking it personal. And so one of these days, I'm going to do the real story of Doc Holliday, and most people aren't going to like it. That's just all there is to it, because there are a lot of tall tales told about the Wild Wild West. People like Johnny Ringo and stuff like that. That's another one. That he was this educated man and who he was and all this other stuff. We will get into Johnny Ringo one day. That's another one of those tales that grew after Johnny Ringo because of the movie. It grew because of the early 1990s movie. Shout to you, and thanks to you as well, my friend, on Veterans Day. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we don't ever get a lot of engagement. We thank you for the people that do engage, because I always get later on, why don't you tell me you're going live? And unfortunately, I don't do it because I don't when everybody's right. I just fought off this cancer thing for 4.5 months, and my son and my wife, and we just trying to get this house back. And so whenever I can get in here for a minute and go live is when I push the go live button, and I think of a topic to talk about, because I'm paying for this live service here. They have this little thing going across the bottom, and I don't even have the logo up in there. Look at that. I can put like the beautiful comments up and stuff like that. People who go live know that would it cost a month or a year to do this kind of stuff. And if you don't do it a bunch every month, it's really not worth it. That's why at the end of the month, we're going to get rid of that. I got to get over there and crunch the numbers and say, where are you making money, Dean? After 5.5 years of doing this, where are you making money? We're making money on tours, which I appreciate everybody. And we're coming out with a list of 7. So before I give this up at the end of the month, we're going to do a whole live on all the tours that I came up with that I'm going to do every day. We have 7 tours, 7 of them. We used to only do two of them, Florence and the historic Globe Cemetery, which I think is the second best cemetery in the state. If you want to know about the history of Arizona, it's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The other one's too far to drive to down in Tucson, but we're gonna give. Yeah, awesome. You fighting off cancer at all positive thoughts for to worst 4.5 months of my life. They told me 6 treatments. After 3, it was gone. They said, well, you still got to do 6. And I'm like, no, there's no more chemo going into this body. I've made that decision. The cancer is gone. There's no reason to keep bombarding your body with chemotherapy for 3 more months. That stuff is absolutely horrid and won't ever, no matter what, be going into this body. I live there on faith for the rest of my life. So anyhow, the really quick, the tours that I'm going to be doing, so we're hopping all over the place. If you guys don't come in here on the chat, like Rod here, I'm just going to keep on talking. We're going to do one that entails 2 things. The Corona Spy Satellite Program. All right. So in 1959, the United States launches the Corona Spy Satellite Program. They launch 144 spy satellites into space to go and do their spying. Problem is, they need a way to calibrate those cameras on those satellites before they leave and go do their deed. So what they did in 1960 is purchase 16 by 16 square mile land under the guise of some kind of government offices, but nobody lived in Casa Grande, Arizona in 1959. It wasn't this big, thriving metropolis and still isn't. They got this huge area in the desert, and they placed from 1960 to 1967, they placed these Maltese-looking crosses. Let's see if I don't think I've got in the captions or my graphics. I think I deleted all that stuff. Did I not? Yeah, I don't have it on there. They placed these they placed Maltese crosses. They look like Maltese crosses. They placed 272 of them in a 16 by 16 mile grid from 1960 to 1967. And then the program really is gone by 1968, 69. So they don't use it anymore, but it's top secret until the early 1980s. Nobody knows it's gone on. Those targets still exist out in the Arizona desert. That's Cold War history. Really hard to find. I spent many a month on Google Earth finding the exact location, pinning them to go find them on the road, because you can just drive right by them because they're pretty much just flat to the ground, but they're only like 15, 20 yards off the road. So we'll go to a couple of those and we'll talk about the Corona Spy Satellite Program. And then from there, one of them is really close to the Francisco Grande Hotel in Casa Grande that was construction began in 1959 by the owner of the San Francisco Giants at the time. He wanted, like the Dodgers had over in Florida, he wanted his own spring training facility. And that's really looking ahead back in 1959. That's why the Giants are still good today. He builds this facility, and they opened up in 1960. So Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, all these guys are out there. The area that they stayed in is still out there. It's still part of the hotel. The only thing that really remains from the baseball fields that were built out there is they have a platform that surrounded it was in the middle of 3 of the baseball fields. That still exists out there. You can see that on a TikTok or a YouTube video of mine. A lot of the history in there. John Wayne used to go out there all the time. They have the John Wayne penthouse up there that you can check out. But that's going to be one tour. It's going to be a good time right there. And all these tours, they're definitely affordable, believe me. Let's see, what's another one that we're putting together? Oh, yeah, a quick check of Papago, Camp Papago, POW camp in Papago Park. People all know Papago Park. I had a lady come out and check on my vitals and stuff like that today, and she lives right out by there, and she's like, man, your Jeep is so cool. And I'm like, I told her what I do, and she told me she lived by Papago Park. And I'm like, used to be a POW camp during World War II with German POWs. Actually, German submariners were set there. And she was flabbergasted. And there are 3 locations out there that still exist today that most people have no clue about unless they follow me. they have no clue exist. So we're going to look at those 3 locations. We're going to get out of the car near the Crosscut Canal. And what did that Papago Park is known for in Germany and all across America, and books are written. It's the Great Papago Escape, where you got 25 German POWs escaping Camp Papago through a 178-foot tunnel that they dug out on the 23rd of December of 1944. And it was the largest POW escape on American soil during World War II. And if you got to think about this, there were over 700 POW camps in the United States. That blows people's mind in itself, because they are like, some people are from one extreme to the other. I thought maybe we had 100 POW camps, but not over 700. And other people are like, we have POW camps during World War II in America. Why? So this is it's a walking. It's probably roughly a 90-minute walking tour to these 3 locations that still exist today. We'll talk about the history. We'll talk about how the compound was set up. The houses that are there today are on the compound, and that's a tour. Trying to put these shorter tours together to we only charge $50 to $60 per person for 90 minutes to go and check out. Yeah, we got my most, and I'll just throw this out there because we'll just ramble on here. My most expensive one, and I make it the most expensive one because I don't know if I want anybody to sign up for it. I'm just getting back. I'm 6 months removed from this cancer stuff, but I think in about another month, I'll be good to do it. Is a trip up Interstate 17 where we'll stop off of the same exit you'll go to Sedona. We'll go the opposite way to a place most people have no clue about. I put it out there. It's out there for people to see. The Historical Society out there will tell you where it's at. It's called it's Sacred Mountain. And you go on out there, you park, you hike about a mile into a butte. You climb up the butte. You have to be in somewhat of good shape. You get to the top of the butte, and it's a old ancient site from around 13 or 1400 AD. It's never been excavated. So you're up there, and everything is up there, folks. The smaller walls. It's a remnants of a 40 to 50 room pueblo up there. We'll go up there. We'll check that out. We'll follow all the rules and regulations as we're out there. There's a sign when you go up there telling you what's going to happen to you if you take anything or do anything to that place. So people just have to understand that. We'll come off of that. We'll get back in the car. We'll head up to 17 miles past Flagstaff. So it's a long day, folks. And we'll go to Cinder Lake off-roading area. We'll go in there. We'll park, and we'll hike about a mile and a quarter, one direction through 4 to 5 inch cinders. So every step you take, you're going through 4 to 5 inches of cinders. And out there is Crater Field number 1 that NASA set up in the 1960s to look exactly like the Sea of Tranquility. And there's nothing else like it. It's top. People always ask me, what's the best place? I have 3 that are tied for number 1, and that's one of them. And I've been to hundreds of different locations. But because there's no other spot, they trained in California, they trained in other locations in Arizona and stuff like that in other states. They don't exist like this. From Google, if you know where this place is at, it looks like the Sea of Tranquility. It looks like the moon. They blew up they used TNT and everything. They blew it up, the craters to look exactly like the Sea of Tranquility. They measured them out, some big ones, some small ones, some wide ones, all over that area, and it still exists today. It's really an awesome thing. I have YouTube, I have TikTok videos of drone footage over that area if you want to check it out. But that's my most expensive one. That day will beat your butt down, but you're going to see 2 unbelievable sights. And if you're leaving out of Gilbert, it's roughly about 199, just rounded off, a 200-mile trip up total and back. So that's 400 miles. You're hiking up a butte. You're going a mile, hiking up a butte, coming back, hiking a mile back, getting in the car, and then driving another about 90 miles past Flagstaff to go 2.5-mile hike through 3 to 6 inch cinders. It's a tough day, but that one I'm only going to do 1 or 2 tops, and I'm not charging enough per person. I'll tell you when I get it out there. But I probably should make it even higher so somebody doesn't want to do it. But I want to give people the opportunity, and maybe I'll make 1 or 2 of those tours this year. But those are just a few on top of the Florence tour, on top of the Globe Cemetery tour. That, I mean, so 1, 2, 3, that's 5 tours already. We got 2 other ones that I'm putting together, all different costs for all different groups of people. That one at Papago Park is walking flat cement for about a mile. So we got a lot to offer, and hopefully we schedule tours every day through December. I mean, folks, if you got people coming for Thanksgiving, book a tour with me. You're not going to be disappointed. December, you got Christmas, you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got people coming to town for Christmas, New Year's, and you got the Super Bowl here. We got the Super Bowl. If you're coming into town, landing at Mason Gateway, no people coming, landing at Phoenix Sky Harbor, whatever, I do tours. Get them set up, and we'll go out there and we'll do some tours of some extraordinary places. If it has to be near the airport, we got places near the airport. But I also do 20-minute consultations, folks. This is like a big commercial it's going into tonight. But for people who are watching this later, I do 20-minute consultations. I can send you a link and talk to you just like this. You'll look at me, I'll look at you, and we'll have a one-on-one conversation. Or you can call me on the telephone. Okay, or we can meet if it's in Gilbert or Queen Creek at any coffee house, and sit down, have a cup of coffee for 20 minutes. And we'll do, if it goes longer than that, it'll cost you more. But I will tell you some of the great locations to take friends and family coming in for the holidays or the Super Bowl or on vacation. Maybe you're coming in on vacation. We do these. People love them. Again, meet in person, talk over the phone, or do it like this, 20-minute one-on-one consultation of a couple of places to go. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. Let's run over here real quick. Great idea on the tour. Wow, interesting on the spy satellite program. Yeah, Rod, that is pretty phenomenal. And thanks for the interaction. Love it. Anyhow, tours. We got tours, folks. Somebody wanted to give me an astronomical amount of money to go to the Grand Canyon, and they're coming to town. I'm like, look, if you want me to take you to that's just a drive. You want me to drive you 5 hours or 4 hours and 50 minutes from Gilbert to the Grand Canyon and show you the best overlooks? Fine. That's not difficult at all. I would say do it yourself, but if you want to come and pay me that kind of cash, I'll be more than happy to take you to somewhere like that. But we're going to try to stick with the 7 tours that we're going to offer. We'll do a whole show coming up before this little streaming thing that I got going on. I stop because, again, crunching the numbers, it just doesn't work. TikTok, that's my friend. 175,000 plus followers, over 60 million views. We got videos on there with 8.8 million views, hundreds of thousands of views. Can't get that on YouTube. Can't get that on Facebook. Can't get that on Instagram. But I get it on TikTok and TikTok lives. One time I was on TikTok live, and I think I might go out there in the next couple of days to the bloodiest feud in U.S. history is the Tewksbury Graham feud, and the Tewksbury cabin is out at this location. I had 49,000 people on there for 1 hour. Now, not at one time, but at the end, it gives you your analytics. I had 49,000 people on a live for 60 minutes talking about a cabin, just going around and telling you about the Tewksbury Graham feud, the Pleasant Valley War, it's also known as. The bloodiest feud in U.S. history, not the Hatfield and McCoys, not even close. And telling them why the cabin was in battle with the Apaches during the Battle of Big Dry Wash. A lot going on with that cabin. And we had 49,000, and the next time we had 17,000. And I'm like, man, why wouldn't I do this every day? Why wouldn't I use the TikTok platform instead of any other platform? But I try to reach everybody. Again, I'm on here tonight, and it doesn't matter how many people are live now. We get about 115 to 120 people that actually come and watch this afterwards, and that'll be it. That's all YouTube is going to throw out there. And we get between 4 and 8 people on any live because they don't know I'm on. And I can just jump on live right now, and while I'm doing this, and we'll get 100 to 200 people watching me live on TikTok. So got to crunch the numbers and where you reach the people. And I've had a lot of loyal followers on the 5 years I've been on YouTube, and I appreciate that. So that's why we keep it up. This is live on YouTube and Facebook. Folks, if you're not following me on the Facebook page at the Arizona Timeless Tours, I don't know why not. If you don't see me on here anymore, go there. We'll do lives on Facebook. I know it's for the old people, and I'm one of those old people, but there is so much free content on there that I probably need to take some of that stuff down. It's got more free content than any platform that I have on it. And we have over 850 videos on TikTok, and Facebook still wins. So, yeah. Let's see if anybody else has anybody else here got anything else, and we'll just shut this thing down. Again, go look at my last two. I did a unique thing. I don't care about views anymore. So on TikTok, I posted 2 locations where I take these because it's the best way to get people out and about into these historical sites in Queen Creek, where locally up the road here from where I live. And out at Florence today, I posted 2 videos, and I show you where I placed 2 of these coins. Did a couple the other day, and a few people went out and they got them, and they posted that they got them. That's awesome. And it's really to get people out. People always say they want one of these coins. It's got my social media platforms, it's got my QR code on the back, and it's got the AZTT logo that I have on my truck here. And we have pretty cool red ones that are limited edition ones. And I placed one of those out there today along with one of these. Really easy to get to. I don't make them really tough, but go to those videos. Sometimes they remain out there more than 24 hours because people don't see the videos in time. But go out there and check them out. And if you do find them, go ahead and send me a picture or something. I'll post them on the social media platforms and say, hey, somebody actually went out there and found the coins. Let's see. All right, folks. Thanks for joining me for this very short, but it's been an hour and 7 minutes. I've been rambling on. Again, coming soon. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell you everybody about the 7 tours that are going to be coming out. You want to check all my social media platforms, TikTok first, and then Facebook, and then Instagram, and then YouTube last. We'll do a live. I'll put it in as tours, 7 brand new tours. And it's always going to be on first come, first serve basis with that email that's going across the screen there. I'll put it on everything. You get with me. It's a great thing. You can pick the time in the tour. And as long as somebody didn't book one for somewhere else at that time, we'll do that tour. That's how they've all worked. And we've had a really great success with it. So I'm back and better than ever. Praise be unto God for this healing. We're going to get back out there, and we're going to start keep checking out the history of Arizona. Rod, thanks. Good to see you again. Looking forward to your next live. And anybody that doesn't follow him, go check him out. Really, they have a great time talking on that show. And they talk about everything. That's how he knows. That's how he knows that Ohio State's the best team by far in college football. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves.